An exhausted widower, a single mom at a bar, 3 identical voices begging for help. What he agreed to that night wasn't just to pretend to be a father, it was to step into a scene staged to look innocent, but designed to push boundaries and break down resistance. A calculated scheme to set a heart free, or to trap 2 adults inside a snare that looked like hope. A plan that would have worked if he hadn't stayed 60 more seconds. This is the story of how one small decision changed 6 lives and woke a past that still wanted someone to pay. Mark Bennett sat at table 12 with a glass of warm champagne he hadn't touched in 40 minutes. Around him, the wedding reception roared with laughter, clinking glasses, and a DJ who thought every song needed more bass. The bass vibrated the floorboards and thumped in Mark's chest, a counter-rhythm to his own slow, heavy heartbeat. He checked his watch, 8:47 p.m. Leo would be asleep by now, hopefully. He was here because Dave from accounting had guilt-tripped him. "You never come out anymore, Mark. It's been 2 years. You need to get back on the horse." As if Mark didn't know that. As if the reason wasn't sitting in his chest like a stone every single day. As if the horse hadn't kicked him in the teeth and left him for dead. Table 12 was the overflow table. The co-workers who didn't quite fit, the plus ones of plus ones, the people invitees felt obligated to include but didn't actually want to talk to. Mark had perfected the art of looking engaged while being completely absent. Smile, nod, check, phone, repeat. He was a hologram of a guest. Across the room, couples swayed on the dance floor. The lights were dim, casting long, romantic shadows. Mark felt the familiar tightness in his throat. He and Emma used to own the dance floor. She had this way of spinning where her hair would hit his face, smelling like vanilla and rain. No, not tonight. He couldn't go there tonight. He was gathering his jacket, fingers brushing the rough fabric, preparing his escape. He would say he had a headache. He would say Leo woke up. Then he heard them. 3 identical voices in perfect unison. "Excuse me, sir." Mark looked down. 3 little girls stood in a perfect line, arms crossed, faces deadly serious. Identical blonde curls that looked like they had been wrestled into submission. Identical purple dresses that had seen better days. One had a grass stain on the hem. Identical expressions of calculated determination. They couldn't have been older than 6. "We need your help," the middle one said. Mark glanced around for a parent. "Where's your—" "We have a proposition," the one on the left interrupted. "And we need an answer in the next 60 seconds. Mark blinked. "What?" "55 seconds now," the right one said, tapping an imaginary watch on her wrist with terrifying precision. Despite everything, the grief, the noise, the exhaustion, Mark felt the corner of his mouth twitch. "Okay, I'm listening." Mark didn't know it yet, but that decision to stay for just 60 more seconds wouldn't just change his night. It would alter the molecular structure of his entire existence. It would be the difference between a life of gray survival and a life of technicolor chaos. And the strangest part? The person who would benefit most from this decision hadn't even been born yet. If you believe that broken hearts can heal, and that it's never too late for a second chance, hit the like button right now. And if you love stories about finding light in the darkness, make sure to subscribe. Because this simple yes to 3 little girls is about to rewrite 6 lives forever. The middle girl stepped forward like a tiny CEO. "I'm Bella. This is Sophie," she gestured left. "And Zoe. We're triplets. Obviously. Obviously. We need you to pretend to be our dad for the rest of the night." Mark laughed. It came out rusty, like a door hinge that hadn't been oiled in years. He'd forgotten what his own laugh sounded like. "You need me to what?" Sophie pulled a folded napkin from her tiny, glittery purse and handed it to him. On it, written in wobbly but emphatic purple crayon, were the words, "Operation Make Mom Happy. Our mom is over there." Zoe pointed a small finger across the room. "At the bar, alone, again," Mark followed her finger. A woman in a red dress stood with her back to the crowd, shoulders just slightly hunched. Even from here, across the expanse of white tablecloths and centerpieces, he could see the tension in her posture. "People look at her weird," Bella said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Like she's broken or something. Because she's alone. Because we don't have a dad. She smiles like she's fine," Sophie added. "But we see her face when she thinks we're not looking. We see her face in the rearview mirror." Mark knew that face. He wore it every day. He wore it in the bathroom mirror before he put on his dad face for Leo. He knew the specific exhaustion of trying to be two parents when you barely had the energy to be one. "You have sad dad eyes," Zoe said, tilting her head. "So we figured you'd understand. Sad dad eyes?" Mark repeated, instinctively touching his face. "Yeah, like you know what it's like to carry stuff nobody sees." Bella's matter-of-fact tone hit him harder than a physical blow. "So, will you help us or not?" 30 seconds. "You look like someone who has survived a storm," Bella continued, with that strange, piercing wisdom children sometimes possess. "My mom survived a storm too, but she thinks she has to rebuild the house all by herself. She thinks if she stops smiling, the roof will cave in. Do you think? Maybe broken adults can help other broken adults fix things?" Mark looked back at the woman in red. She turned slightly, and he caught her profile. Beautiful, yes, but more than that. There was something in the way she held herself. Brave, exhausted, alone in a room full of people. He recognized her because he was her. "What exactly would I have to do?" Mark asked. The girls exchanged victorious glances. "Just be at our table. Act like you belong. Make it look like Mom's not doing this alone," Bella said. "Please. She deserves one night where people don't look at her like that." Mark thought about Leo, about the way strangers sometimes looked at them at the playground. The single dad probably doing it wrong, probably overwhelmed, probably forgot the snacks. He thought about the weight of being visible and invisible at the same time. He thought about walking back to his empty apartment, paying the babysitter, and sitting in the dark. "Okay," Mark said. "I'm in." The girls led him through the crowd like a military escort extracting a VIP. Sophie pulled out a second napkin. This one had bullet points. "Quick briefing," she said. "Mom's name is Sarah Jenkins. She's a nurse, works doubles at Presbyterian Hospital. She loves jazz, hates olives, and drinks coffee like it's a religion. She has a scar from when Bella bit her," Zoe added. "I was too," Bella protested. "What about your dad? What happened?" The girls' faces went neutral, a shield Mark recognized. "He left when we were babies," Bella said simply. "Sod 3 was too many. Said he didn't sign up for a litter." Sophie shrugged. "His loss. We're awesome." "We are," Zoe agreed. They reached table 7. Sarah was walking back from the bar, carrying a glass of wine. When she saw Mark with her daughters, she stopped dead. The wine glass slipped from her fingers. Mark lunged forward, pure reflex, catching it mid-fall just inches from the carpet. Not a drop spilled. Their eyes locked over the rim of the glass. The air between them crackled with electricity and something else, something that felt strangely like recognition, even though they'd never met. She spotted the girls and managed to breathe. "What did you three do now? If you went to the kitchen again?" Then she really looked at Mark. Sarah looked at the glass of wine in her hands and felt something she hadn't felt in years: fear. She was terrified he would see the brokenness beneath her smile. "I am so sorry," Sarah said, rushing forward. "Whatever they told you, I promise we're leaving soon, and, Mom, this is Mark," Bella interrupted. "He's our dad for tonight." Sarah froze. The wine glass tilted dangerously. "He's your what?" Mark extended his hand. "Mark Bennett. And before you think I'm insane, I should clarify, I'm not actually trying to kidnap your children. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse." Something about a purple crayon contract. We hired him, Sophie explained. For free, Zoe added. We don't have money. We paid him in exposure. Sarah's mouth opened, closed, opened again. She looked at Mark, waiting for the punchline. What? Mark pulled out a chair. May I? Sarah looked at her daughters, then at Mark, then back at her daughters. 5 minutes, Mark said gently. If you want me gone after that, I'll disappear. But your daughters made a compelling case, and I'm already here, so... Sarah slowly sat down. The girls beamed. Okay, Sarah said, voice careful. I'll bite. What exactly did they tell you? That you deserve one night where people don't look at you like you're struggling, Mark said. And that I have sad dad eyes, which apparently qualifies me for this operation. Sarah's cheeks flushed a deep crimson. I'm going to kill all 3 of you, she muttered to her daughters. Wait until after the cake, Bella suggested. Despite herself, Sarah laughed. The sound was genuine, unguarded, and it transformed her face from tired to radiant. Something shifted in Mark's chest, a crack in the ice he'd carried for 2 years. So, Sarah said, studying him, sad dad eyes, you have kids? 1, Leo, he's 7. Mark pulled out his phone and showed her his lock screen. A picture of a gap-toothed boy covered in mud, grinning like he'd won the lottery. He's with a babysitter tonight. I wasn't planning to stay long. Sarah's expression softened. Single dad? Widower, Mark said quietly. 2 years now. The noise of the wedding faded slightly. Sarah's eyes met his, and in them, Mark saw recognition. Not pity. Understanding. The secret handshake of the bereaved. Single mom, Sarah said. Since before these 3 could walk. That's rough. So is 2 years alone with a 7-year-old. Zoe tugged Mark's sleeve. You're supposed to ask about her job now, right? Mark cleared his throat. So, Presbyterian Hospital. What do you do there? At that moment, as Mark watched the candlelight reflect in Sarah's tired eyes, he had no idea that in exactly 3 years and 2 months, he would be standing in this same banquet hall. But he wouldn't be a stranger at table 7. He would be holding a microphone, sweat dripping down his back, preparing to reveal a secret that could shatter the fragile happiness they were about to build. And then everything changed when the music started. The girls coached him through the basics of their family trivia, interrupting each other with corrections and additions. Sarah watched with a mix of mortification and amusement. They're allergic to shellfish and bees. Bella snores like a freight train. I do not. Mom's favorite song is What a Wonderful World. Girls, Sarah cut in. Please stop giving this poor man my entire life story. He asked, Sophie pointed out. Mark grinned. I did ask. A waiter passed with champagne. Mark grabbed 2 glasses and handed one to Sarah. Their fingers brushed, brief, electric. To insane plans by 6-year-olds, he offered. To whatever gets us through the night, Sarah countered. They clinked glasses, and then Zoe knocked over her water. It cascaded across the table in a perfect arc, heading straight for Sarah's open clutch purse. Mark's hand shot out, pure dad reflex, catching the glass mid-tumble and sweeping the purse out of the splash zone in one fluid motion. Sarah stared at him. Sorry, Mark said. Occupational hazard. You develop cat-like reflexes when you're outnumbered. The DJ's voice boomed. All right, folks, it's time for our couple's dance. Grab your partner and hit the floor. The girls exchanged looks that Mark was beginning to recognize as dangerous. You should dance, Sophie said innocently. Oh no, Sarah said. We are not. Mom, you love dancing. Bella's voice went soft, almost pleading. You never get to anymore. Please. Sarah's resistance wavered. Mark saw it. The moment when a mother's exhaustion met a daughter's hope. She wanted to say no, but she couldn't break their hearts. He stood and extended his hand. One dance. Then I'll vanish like Cinderella, and you can tell them you tried. Sarah looked at his hand. At her daughter's, at the dance floor where other couples were already swaying. "One dance," she said, taking his hand. The song was slow, classic, unchained melody. Mark led Sarah onto the floor, acutely aware that he hadn't danced with anyone since Emma's funeral. His hands found the appropriate places, one on her waist, one holding her hand, and they began to move. "I haven't done this in years," Sarah admitted. They fell into rhythm. Around them, the wedding swirled, but Mark found himself focusing on smaller things, the way Sarah's hand fit in his, the faint scent of lavender, the tension slowly leaving her shoulders. "Can I ask you something?" Sarah said quietly. "Sure. Why did you say yes? To the girls, I mean. You don't know us." "This is completely insane." Mark was quiet for a moment, choosing his words. "Because I know what it's like to walk into a room and feel like you're wearing a sign that says, 'broken.' I know what it's like to smile when you're barely holding it together. And I know what it's like when someone sees you, really sees you, and doesn't look away." Sarah's eyes glistened. "That's exactly it. Plus, your daughters are terrifying in the best possible way. I was genuinely afraid they'd escalate if I said no." Sarah snorted, an inelegant, surprised sound that made her blush. "They would have. They're relentless. Like their mom?" "I plead the fifth." The song built to its crescendo. Mark pulled her slightly closer, not inappropriately, but enough that she could rest her head on his shoulder if she wanted. She did. For 3 minutes and 47 seconds, Sarah Jenkins wasn't a single mother fighting the world alone. She was just a woman dancing with a man who understood. Something thawed inside Mark, small, painful, and alive. When the song ended, they pulled apart slowly. The girls were watching from the table, identical grins plastered on their faces. "Coffee?" Mark heard himself say, "I mean, not tonight, but maybe, sometime?" Sarah hesitated. "I work insane hours. I have 3 kids who apparently moonlight as matchmakers. My life is chaos. I have a 7-year-old who thinks bedtime is a suggestion. I haven't been on a date in 2 years, and I just agreed to a fake family scheme at a stranger's wedding. Chaos is my baseline." Sarah bit her lip, fighting a smile. "Okay, coffee. But only if you bring pictures of Leo. The girls will demand proof he exists." "Deal." They exchanged numbers. Real numbers. Not the fake kind you give to be polite. As Mark walked back to table 12 to grab his jacket, he realized something. He wasn't leaving early. He was leaving different. But as he reached for his phone to save Sarah's number properly, he saw it. A text notification from an unknown number. The preview made his blood run cold. "I know what you did 2 years ago. We need to talk about Emma." Mark's hand froze. His heart hammered in his chest. Who could possibly know? And know what, exactly? He glanced back at Sarah, laughing with her daughters, and felt a wave of panic. He just found something precious, and someone was about to take it away. If you've ever felt like you missed your chance at happiness, hit the like button. This story is for you. 2 weeks later, Mark stood outside Blue Bottle Coffee with Leo, who was vibrating with excitement. The mysterious text message said unanswered in his phone. He'd convinced himself it was spam, a wrong number. Anything but what his gut told him it was. Are they really triplets? Like, exactly the same? Leo asked for the 10th time. Exactly the same. That's so cool. Do they do tricks? They're not puppies, buddy. But do they? Before Mark could answer, Sarah walked in with 3 identical whirlwinds in tow. She looked beautiful. "You came?" she said, sounding surprised. "You doubted me?" "Little bit, yeah." The girls circled Leo like sharks. "You're Leo?" Bella demanded. "Uh-huh. Do you like dinosaurs?" "Yeah." "Do you like building forts?" "Yeah." "Do you think girls can be superheroes?" Leo looked confused. "Duh. Everyone knows that." Sophie turned to her sisters. "He's approved." Just like that, The four kids ran to the corner of the coffee shop where a basket of toys sat. Mark and Sarah watched them, slightly stunned. "That was easy," Mark said. "Suspiciously easy," Sarah agreed. They ordered coffee. Sarah got a triple shot latte and found a table. For 20 minutes, they talked about normal things: work, sleep deprivation, the impossibility of grocery shopping with children. Then Sarah asked the question Mark had been dreading. What was she like? "Your wife." Mark wrapped his hands around his cup. Emma was a force, loud, chaotic, always had 12 projects going at once. She made everything feel possible. He paused. Cancer took her fast, 6 months from diagnosis to gone. Leo barely remembers her, which kills me. Sarah reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "I'm sorry." "What about you?" The girl said he left. Sarah's jaw tightened. "Jake found out we were having triplets at the 20-week ultrasound. He literally said, 'I didn't sign up for this,' and walked out. I haven't seen him since. He's an idiot." "Oh, absolutely. But some days," she trailed off, looking at her daughters, "some days I'm so tired I can barely see straight. Some days I wonder if I'm enough." "You are," Mark said firmly. "Trust me." "You are." Their eyes held. Something unspoken passed between them: recognition, possibility, fear. From the play corner, Bella shouted, "Leo said we can come to his house. Can we, Mom? Can we?" Sarah looked mortified. "Bella, we are not inviting ourselves." "Actually," Mark interrupted, "I was going to suggest that. Next Saturday? Nothing fancy. Just chaos with adult supervision." Sarah studied him. "You're serious?" "I'm terrified." "But yeah, I'm serious." "Okay," Sarah said. "Okay, Saturday." But relationships built on grief are fragile things. They burn bright and fast. Mark and Sarah were about to learn that love isn't just about finding someone who understands your past. It's about surviving the moment your past tries to destroy your future. And the mistake Mark was about to make would almost destroy everything. The following Saturday, Sarah pulled up to a modest 2-story house in Astoria with a yard that needed mowing and a basketball hoop missing its net. Mark stood on the porch looking nervous. The date was perfect. Until it wasn't. Mark and Sarah were in the kitchen making sandwiches while the kids played in the yard. It felt domestic. It felt right. Mark was laughing at a story Sarah was telling. He turned to grab a knife. God, Emma would have loved that story. She used to. He stopped. The air left the room. He had called her Emma. He hadn't meant to. It was muscle memory. It was the ghost in the machine. Sarah froze. She looked at Mark, and the light went out of her eyes. "I'm sorry," Mark stammered. "I didn't mean." Sarah stepped back. "I can't do this, Mark." "Sarah, it was a slip of the tongue." "It's not just a slip," she said, her voice trembling. "I can't be a ghost. I can't be the placeholder for a dead woman. I've spent my whole life being invisible. I won't be invisible in my own relationship." "You're not invisible." "I am to you," she whispered. "You're still married to her." She grabbed her purse. She called the girls. They left in a flurry of confusion and slamming car doors. Leo walked into the kitchen. "Dad, is Sarah coming back?" Mark stared at the door. "I don't know, buddy. I don't know." For 11 days there was silence. 11 days where Mark checked his phone every 3 minutes. Zoe sat on the end of Sarah's bed and asked, "Mom, if love is real, why does it go away? And if he made a mistake, isn't that what we have erasers for?" On the 12th day, at 6 a.m., there was a knock on Mark's door. He opened it to find Sarah. She was wearing her scrubs, looking exhausted, eyes red-rimmed. "I didn't come here to be a second choice," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "I came to check if you're ready to have a first choice again." Mark didn't hesitate. But instead of just pulling her inside, he reached into his pocket. Mark pulled out a crumpled envelope. His hand shook. Before you decide anything, you need to read this. It's from Emma. She wrote it before she died. It's about you. Sarah's hands trembled as she took it. About me? But she never met me. How could she? I know, Mark said, his voice barely a whisper. That's what scares me. Sarah opened the letter right there on the porch. Her eyes scanned the handwriting, looping, feminine, weakening toward the end where the cancer had taken Emma's strength. The letter read, Mark, if you're reading this to someone, it means you found her. I don't know her name. I don't know what she looks like, but I know she exists. I've seen the way you look at couples now, like you're mourning a future we'll never have. Don't. She have tired eyes. She understand what it means to carry weight alone. She probably loved jazz. I know you hate my jazz, Mark, so I hope she loves it too, just to annoy you from beyond. She hate olives. She drink too much coffee. And when you meet her, you'll feel like you're betraying me. You're not. I'm not in the house anymore, Mark. I'm in your heart. Let her in the house. Let her rearrange the furniture. Let her paint the walls. Let Leo call her mom if he wants to. Because love isn't a betrayal of the dead, it's a celebration of the living. Tell her I'm sorry I had to leave for her to arrive. Tell her to be patient with you. And tell her thank you for loving my boys when I can. With all the love I have left. Emma. Sarah's tears fell onto the paper, smudging the ink. She looked up at Mark, stunned. She knew. She knew exactly who I was. Jazz, coffee, olives, even the red dress, Mark whispered. I didn't understand until I met you. Come inside, Mark said. Please. Sarah walked in. The reconciliation led to a summer of integration. One afternoon, they were all in the living room. Zoe found a photo album on a shelf. Who's this? She asked, holding up a picture of Emma, pregnant and glowing. The room went quiet. Mark knelt down. That's Leo's mom. Her name was Emma. She died when Leo was 5. Zoe's face scrunched in thought. Does it make you sad to look at her? Sometimes, Mark said honestly. But mostly it makes me grateful I got to know her. Sophie touched the photo gently. She was pretty. She was. Bella looked between Mark and Sarah. Can you love people who aren't here anymore and people who are here at the same time? Mark glanced at Sarah. Her eyes were bright with tears. Hearts don't replace, they expand. Yeah, Mark said. Your heart's bigger than you think. You don't have to kick anyone out to let someone else in. Sarah squeezed his shoulder. We love her too, she told the girls. Because without her, we wouldn't have Leo, and we wouldn't have Mark. The tension dissolved. The ghost in the room wasn't haunting them anymore. She was just part of the family history. Each of the girls processed the new family in their own way. Bella, the pragmatic leader, started making lists. Things Dad Mark needs to know about Mom had 47 items, including she hides chocolate behind the frozen vegetables and cries watching dog commercials. Sophie, the quiet observer, drew obsessively pages and pages of a family of 6, always holding hands, always smiling. Zoe, the relentless questioner, cornered Mark one afternoon. If you marry Mom, will you stay forever? Because the other man didn't stay. And when people say forever, how long is that really? Mark knelt down and looked her in the eye. Forever is as long as you'll let me stay. And I plan to be very, very annoying so you'll have a hard time getting rid of me. 1 year after the wedding, Mark stood in Sarah's kitchen, now their kitchen, watching controlled chaos unfold. Leo and the triplets were decorating cookies with more frosting than actual cookie. The radio played jazz. Sarah hummed while chopping vegetables. It was ordinary. It was perfect. Hey, Mark said, wrapping his arms around Sarah's waist from behind. Can I ask you something? That depends. Are you about to make a terrible pun? No, something bigger. Sarah turned in his arms, eyebrow raised. Mark knelt down so he was at their eye level. I have a question for all of you. All 5 of you." He looked at Sarah, then at each kid in turn. "We've been doing this thing where we're not quite one family, but we're not quite 2 families either. And I think we're all tired of the not quite part." He pulled a small box from his pocket. "Sarah Jenkins, will you marry me?" Sarah's hands flew to her mouth. "Wait, there's more," Mark said. He looked at the kids. "Leo, Bella, Sophie, Zoe, will you be my team officially? All of us together, making this work, being loud and messy and ours?" "Do we get cake?" Zoe asked. "So much cake," Mark promised. Leo hugged him. "Does this mean I get sisters?" "3 of them. Cool." Sarah slid to the floor, crying and laughing. "Yes, yes, you insane, wonderful man. Yes." Mark slipped the ring on her finger, and they kissed while 4 children cheered and demanded cake immediately. But what Sarah would hold in her hands 2 years later would change everything again. 2 years later, the house in Astoria had been renovated. 5 bedrooms now, a bigger kitchen. A yard that still needed mowing but was filled with bikes and toys and evidence of life. Sarah stood in the bathroom, staring at a pregnancy test. 2 lines. She walked downstairs where Mark was helping with homework. She held up the test without a word. Mark's eyes went wide. "Really? Really?" The kids looked up. "What's that?" Bella asked. Sarah sat down. "Guys, we're going to have a baby." Silence. Then, finally, Zoe shouted, "A tiebreaker." "We're going to teach them everything," Sophie declared. Leo pumped his fist. "I'm going to be a big brother." Bella looked thoughtful. "So, we started this family at a wedding by pretending. And now it's real. Mark pulled Bella into a hug. "It was never pretend." "Not really. We just needed permission to admit we belong together." 10 years later. Bella's wedding took place at a vineyard in Napa Valley. The air smelled like grapes and promise. Tables were set under string lights. Sarah, graying now but radiant, adjusted her daughter's veil. "You ready?" she asked. Bella, 26, confident, glowing, nodded. More than ready. At table 1, Mark sat surrounded by his family. Sarah on his left. Leo, 17 now, tall and kind, on his right. Sophie and Zoe, stunning in matching bridesmaid dresses. And nestled between them all, a 10-year-old whirlwind named Emma, named for a woman she'd never meet but whose love lived on in every gesture Mark made. The ceremony was beautiful. The reception louder. During dinner, Bella stood and handed Mark the microphone. "Dad has something to say." Mark stood, heart full to bursting. He looked around the room at family that had grown from a ridiculous plan and a desperate hope. 17 years ago, Mark began, I was sitting alone at table 12 at a wedding, convinced I'd used up my chance at happiness. 3 little girls changed that. They saw a sad, lonely man across a room and decided he looked like he needed a family as much as they did. He looked at Sarah, who was crying, at the triplets, who were grinning, at Leo, who gave him a thumbs up, at Emma, who was sneaking cake. They were right. I did need a family. And Sarah needed to stop carrying the world alone. And Leo needed sisters who would endlessly torment him. And all of us needed proof that broken things can heal if you're brave enough to try. Mark raised his glass. To Bella, Sophie, and Zoe, the 3 wisest 6-year-olds who ever lived. To Sarah, who took a risk on a stranger. To choosing love even when it's scary. To families we build. To all of us. To all of us, the room echoed. As Mark sat down, Sarah leaned into him. Not bad for a guy from table 12. Table 12 got an upgrade. The best upgrade. The DJ called for the father-daughter dance. Mark took Bella's hand and walked onto the floor. As they swayed, Bella whispered, "Thank you for saying yes that night. Thank you for asking." The music played. The family watched. And Mark Bennett, no longer the man at table 12, no longer alone, danced with his daughter under the stars and understood that sometimes the best families aren't the ones you're born into. They're the ones that choose you back. If this story touched something in you, if you believe in second chances, in the courage to love again, in the families we build from broken pieces, share it. Share hope. Because somewhere out there, someone's sitting alone at table 12, waiting for their turn to be seen.